asked Austin to be the guest on the show before, and I swear to God, and he can testify to this, before he went out and won the Super Tour race that weekend. And I was like, this couldn't have worked out better. So congratulations again on that. But one of the things we talked about, and that's why I said I had to have you back on the show, was you said at the end of our interview that you were heading off to Europe after we chatted for a few minutes here, what's turning out to be a fantastic vacation for a college student to go on. But you just graduated from SC, right?
Yeah, I graduated in December. I walk in May.
Cool,
So this
cool.
is a graduation present to myself.
So he's a University of Southern California graduate, and I'm sure all my UCLA fans will hold that against you, but I won't. And after his graduation, he headed off to England and now Europe, and that might be a whole nother podcast at some point in time. But while in Europe, you decided that you were going to go racing try to go racing. And the process, I think, is really kind of cool. And we talked a little bit about that, but we're going to do that again here. And then you've actually done your race at Silverstone, so we want to get all caught up on how that all went. So first of all, everybody who's an SCCA racer might think about this, but you actually went and did it. So what was the process when you said, I want to try to go racing in Europe? What was the steps
And
to
the
say,
process, I think, is really kind of cool.
And we talked a little bit about that, but we're going to do that again
Sure,
here.
yeah. So,
and then you've actually done your race at
I guess
Silverstone,
this
so we
whole
want to
thing
get all caught up
started,
on how that all went. So first of all, everybody
it's been a dream of
who's
mine
an
to
SCCA racer
race outside.
might think about this, but you actually went and did it. So what was the process when you said, I want to try to go racing in Europe? What was the steps
And
to
the
say,
process, I think, is really kind of cool.
And we
How did it
talked a
all work
little
out?
bit about that, but we're going to do that again
Sure,
here.
yeah. So,
And then you've actually done your race at
I guess
Silverstone,
this
so we
whole
want to
thing
get all caught up
started,
on how that all went. So first of all, everybody
it's been a dream of
who's an
mine
SCCA
to
racer
race outside.
might think about this.
Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Welcome, race fans, to the Cal Club region SCCA Divisional races here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park. Get ready to do our racing action. Get it underway today. I'm Brian Belansky. Tristan Parker's here with us, and we're going to bring you the kind of a live podcast call of our races this weekend. We're still testing our streaming out here at Buttonwillow, and so we are only going to have one camera today. You'll see it right here, and let me pull that up for us right now. We'll have the camera, we'll have the timing and scoring there for you, and of course we will have all of the discussions about what's going on. How are we doing, my friend?
Doing good. Looking forward to the race today. And our first race, well, it's only 3 cars, but it'll be a good warm-up for us here. But it's a lovely day out here at Buttonwillow. Hot, though. Very hot. That's why we're doing it so early in the day today.
Exactly. I usually put up the weather forecast on the stream here, and then I got depressed looking at it, so I chose not to. But I can tell you right now, at 9:40 in the morning, we're already up to 84 degrees outside. The National Weather Service tells us that we have an excessive heat warning, and that we are out here doing our racing this morning early. We get our very early start in a compressed schedule, so we'll get everybody off the track just after noon, and then we'll be able to sit in the air conditioning for the rest of the afternoon.
Correct. Yeah, we didn't even have practice this morning, actually. We went straight into qualifying for these races today. So these guys have been out on the track just once for their go-round for the qualifier, and then hopping into the race set right after that. So whatever it takes, though, to get them off the course, save the tires, keep things down. I was just talking to one of the racers already in one of our later groups, saying they are already having a little bit of difficulty with how hot it is out there. So that's only going to get more and more of an issue as the day goes by. So something to definitely keep an eye on. But this first group here, 3 cars, should be relatively straightforward. Not too much serious back and forth out there, but still provide some interesting racing for us here to get the day started.
It is our fastest race group of the day with our winged cars, and we'll have to take a look to see who is all going to be joining us for that little short race. At least the race length is the same, just the number of cars is a little less. Today's and this weekend's races are all 25-minute timed races, so it doesn't matter how many laps, doesn't matter how many laps we run under full course yellow, which we hope is 0, but we're going to start the clock, and at the end of 25 minutes, whoever crosses the finish line first is going to take home the glory.
Correct, and this weekend we are running that Buttonwillow number 25 configuration counterclockwise, so perhaps clockwise.
Yes.
Oh, I can never get it right. Clocks and I confuse me. I just
Maybe
look
it
at
is
this is why I do digital.
No, it is counterclockwise.
Yeah, counterclockwise this weekend. So going around again, we did get here very early this morning. So, but counterclockwise this weekend, an interesting configuration. I feel like I've heard more grumbling about it than positive feedback, but it'll still be enjoyable to watch. Could go ahead and give the grid order here if it's all good with you. So starting at the back, number 3, Andy Chan, number 123 car, a Radical here from Harbor City, California, and that's the make of the car, not the man himself. Following it up, Rene Lore, the number 76 vehicle, a 2004 Radical SR3 from Chino Hills, California, and then in pole position in an FA, Tom Van Wee, number 6 in a Mazda Formula from Fallbrook, California.
All right, you can see the cars there going through our. That's the grapevine area that we call on the racetrack. There, and at this configuration, I don't know what the corner numbers are because we keep the numbers the same. So anyway, it's tough to say. But anyway, that's about halfway through the pace lap. We've got one straggler trying to catch up to the back of the pack. So I think that's going to be a 4th car possibly, and we'll find out who they are the first time they cross the start-finish line. And when the old timing and scoring stuff comes in and shows us who's where and when. Our pace car is on pit lane. That means that we'll be waiting here for Tracy Kane to decide whether or not she is happy with how things are lined up, and she's shaking her head no. Ununderstandable to me how a race with 4 cars can't line up properly before they come
What?
down to the line. I actually think I know why. Maybe because there's that straggler, and they were trying to get the straggler together. I don't know.
Here comes that
Usually,
straggler, by the
when
way.
we have problems with the start of the race, it's when there's a pack of like 65 cars.
Yeah, you would think.
So here's how this works, folks. In the SCCA, the race starts whether we throw the green flag or not. So the 25-minute clock has started, and these folks are just taking away from their own racing time. Although with the heat, they might be saying, "Oh, one less lap, cool."
Yeah, they very well might be. Just hearing the chatter over the radio, it sounds like the reason the race didn't start right there was because they came in a single file. They were supposed to be
Oh.
paired up 2x2, all of Noah's Ark. They weren't. That mysterious car that did not go and participate in qualifying is out on the track right now. That is number 12, Robert Kazin, in a P2. So 3 P2s and an FA out there.
All right, well, that explains that. We do side-by-side 2x2 starts, unless, of course, we are not side-by-side and 2x2, and then we don't start. So, all good, all good. And looks like we actually have a couple of people watching the stream this morning already. And if you want to say something in the chat, we would love to hear from you. And again, we're doing basically test broadcasts this weekend again. The rest of the broadcasts this season are test and setup broadcasts, pre-production work, as we say in the business, for our official launch coming up in January, or is it February? Whatever our first race of the year is next year will be our first official Cal Club live stream race event. So these are kind of like bonus coverage. I don't know if you're a soccer fan. This is like bonus time.
You're right. Extra time tacked on.
Exactly. Extra time. And
for the good of it.
Absolutely. So, and we're testing mostly internet quality this weekend. So we want to make sure the stream stays solid the whole time before we start adding a whole bunch of extra cameras into the mix. So our field now is heading down through the end portion of the racetrack before they come back onto the front straight before we get going again.
Yeah, they'll be coming up into sunrise soon, and then hopefully we'll get a clear start here if everybody can line up. It sounds like there's a little bit of discussion about rules and whatnot. I didn't catch quite all of the chatter right there, but hopefully we can just get the race underway, get these guys going. Don't want any delays here. Keep it as early. It looks like they are side by side coming up into sunrise, so that should be acceptable there. And sure enough, green flag. Here goes the first race of the day here on this fine Saturday at Buttonwillow. Group 2 starting off.
Here we go. And they'll head down towards the first corner. We call that sunset, obviously, or maybe not obviously. Sunrise. It's on the side of the track where the sun comes up.
It did rise there this morning. Saw it.
Sunset will be what I'll be watching with an adult beverage later this afternoon.
There you go.
So
that western side of the track today, quite long, too. Not taking the sweeper all the way down to the Star Mazda turn, I believe. Yep. The S is in there as well. And a little bit of an elevation change on the kind of come up from there. Phil Hill is active today, so that's giving them something to think about as they come down that into the Riverside turn. So that's another configuration aspect to pay attention to. That Riverside bend can get a little wild sometimes. You come into that kind of fast coming down off of that hill, and it can be problematic to say the least, but hopefully everything will be relatively clean today. We had all our qualifying was very clean, no problems at all. I think I saw one car briefly kick up some dust out there, and that was about the extent of it.
Well, that's fairly impressive because kicking up dust is a regular feature of this racetrack.
Too true.
You don't have to put more than a little tiny bit of a wheel off to get a little dust going, so
well, there's that number 76 car, by the way. That is Renee Lower, who has just come up and passed. I believe it was Andy Chan. Not, a huge positional change or what have you, but certainly They are kind of hanging back. It's basically split into 2 and 2, though. Then now, worth pointing out, of course, that Tom Van Wee is in that FA car, so theoretically a little bit different. His qualifying time was significantly faster than the other 2 qualifiers, so we would expect him to sort of be setting his own pace here. And sure enough, he comes across the line, putting in good speed. Let's see if we can get a time on that. Looks like he did about 1 minute 55 seconds on that.
Yeah, and the Formula Atlanta car should be our fastest race car this year all weekend. Open wheel car, biggest motor, lightest car, and Tom Van Wee is a guy who's been out here a lot, so he knows this track as well as anybody. So he should drive away from the P2 cars. The P2 cars obviously in the same class, all 3 of them, so they should be much closer together in speed and in technical performance, and so we'll watch that as the day goes on here. So.
Yeah, it's always enjoyable to see what that Formula Atlantic car can do. And like you said, Tom Van Wee, an experienced driver, so kind of a race with himself almost in terms of those times just to see what he can do. And sure enough, that gap is opening up wider and wider here as he comes in past Riverside and starts powering through into the dog leg, leaving behind, I believe that's Robert Kazin there in that number 12 car, so the fastest of the P2s. Interesting, though, Robert Kazin putting up a very good time here, Brian, at 155.834 on the last lap, which was significantly faster than Rene Lohr, who was coming in at about 208.
Absolutely, and those are still, and 208 is still pretty darn fast. So
yeah,
let's not kid ourselves here. Some really good times here, and
now, and here comes Tom Van Wee back round again past us here in the tower, making good time. Let's see if he passed himself on his previous lap. He did, heating up, probably quite literally actually out there on the track right now, coming across at 152.556, so a faster lap for sure. Robert Kazin still managing to maintain a 155 of his own, which is a pretty impressive time, all things considered, for that P2. We'll see what Rene Lohr and Andy Chan can muster up here, kind of bringing up the back end of the race. Well, taking a quick look there, it looks like Rene Lohr put up a 205, and then Andy Chan coming in at a 216, taking his time, having a fun drive out there on the track today. And I keep seeing dust kicked up in the background, but there's a tractor that's just plowing a field just past the racetrack. And every time I see some dust kicked up, he's the one responsible so far. Everybody having a pretty fun, clean race out there so far, 3 laps in. Our fields later today, they will be substantially larger than this, and so that's something to keep an eye on. But for now, I mean, it's mostly just looking at these times, Brian, trying to get a feel for what the track is like today. And these guys, obviously, with the benefit of going first, will avoid some of the worst heat that is to come. I believe we said by the time that we were wrapping up today that the general temperature here in Buttonwillow would be about 98 degrees at noon. Which is when our last track event session of the day starts. So gives you a good idea of what they're kind of facing out here as we see Tom Van Wee go by again. It looks like he's bested his previous time, but by a point something of a second, not by a ton.
I also want to give a big shout out to Porterfield Brakes. They are the presenting sponsor for our live streams for all of this year and next year. We want to give a big thank you to them. Without their help, we would not be able to do this. So if you have some needs for some performance brakes for your race car, you can check out Porterfield Brakes. That is Porterfield brakes.com, and they sell a lot more than just brakes, folks. So check it out. They are really good folks. And we really appreciate everything they do for us. So.
Andy Chan coming across there, so that is another circle around. That's a 2:16 time there for Andy, who is at the back of the pack. I use pack rather loosely. These guys are spread out across the track right now, but hey, that makes for good conditions for them, right? That's enjoyable. Each of you gets your own chunk of road. Nobody's passing, no big problems, just having a good drive.
Yeah. We are just past the 10-minute mark in this 25-minute race. So we've got 4 races today, 4 races tomorrow. Because we're getting together early, there's no big lunch break that we'll have to slow the stream down for. We do have a little bit of a break for a worker break between the two, between race 2 and race 3, but not the whole hour like we typically do on a regular race weekend. So we're going to get these 4 races all banged out this morning, and then we're going to come back and do it all over again tomorrow. So. Also want to take a quick opportunity real quick to give a shout out to one of our good friends, Bill Gailey. He is at home fighting cancer, and just want to let you know that we miss you, we love you, and Bill was a big part of, is a big part of the Cal Club family. Been a race worker for as long as anybody can remember, and we really want to just send him and his family big hugs and big love. And we understand he's going to be listening this weekend, and just want to say hi to Bill and let him know that we're thinking about him.
Well, Tom Van Wee has scaled down just a little bit, dropped about a second off his time down to, or added, I should say, about a second to his time. Came in at a 1:53 on that last lap, so slowing down just a bit. If you're wondering how long our configuration is today, it is just about 3.1 miles. So that gives you an idea of what you're looking at, and some turns and even a little bit of a chicanery here down at the S's. A lot of twisting and turning there as well to keep our racers on their toes. Good long straight here in front of us in the tower. Of course, the dog leg provides some speed as well. And speaking of speed, there goes Tom Van Wee again, setting, well, he's fluctuated back the other direction, set his best lap so far at 151.859. So that's something to keep track of indeed. 6 laps down now in this race for Tom Van Wee. The rest at 5, slowly closing in behind. And maintaining a pretty steady pace throughout.
You know, you were talking earlier about seeing dust, and when the tractor that's out there in the field is in the right spot,
yeah,
I see the dust but not the tractor.
Yep.
So I start looking around, and then I realize, oh, yep, there's the tractor.
He is very he is surprisingly close to the track, but all proud of that man in the tractor. He's been working here since about, I think, 7 o'clock this morning. So he's been doing good work. Those dust trails have been kicking off the entire time.
Well, he's trying to get the work done before it hits the 100 degree
Yeah,
mark.
probably.
You don't want to be even, although, I don't know, I haven't seen the tractor up close, but some of those tractors, they've got air conditioning, and it's probably more comfortable there than it is in my living room on my Barca Lounger.
Might be. They're fine machines, I'll tell you what.
That's right.
We were just talking about those this morning, actually, and how after the first 5 minutes, it's not as exciting as you would think to be in a tractor. But
right.
Those first 5 minutes, it's a wild time. Should be noted today that we are actually letting cars take victory laps, which is kind of fun. It's an optional choice, we should say as well. So.
Microphone.
But yeah, it'll be an optional choice for these racers today if they want to take them. Probably won't see one for this first lap, but certainly in our bigger divisions, we might be seeing them.
Let's do our full field rundown at the halfway point.
Happily, we'll give you the full field rundown here. In the lead is Tom Van Wee coming across the line just now, actually, at about 153. Robert Kazin, number 12, in second place, the leader of the P2 class. Then we have Rene Lohr here, the third place overall in the second P2. And then finally, closing it out, last but certainly not least, Andy Chan, number 123 there, running the back of the P2 class.
That is your full field rundown brought to you by the Inside the SCCA podcast. You can hear that on all your favorite podcasting platforms. All you have to do is look for the Racing Wire Podcast Network. You are listening to the Cal Club Race Stream presented by Porterfield Brakes. I'm Brian Belansky. With me today, Tristan Smith. We're just past the halfway mark in our first race of the day. That first race of the day is our Wings and Things group. We have one wing and three things in this group. One Formula Atlanta car, your race leader. We just talked about it, Van Wee. 3 P2 cars. And not a big field on this not-so-cool day. Cool not as in we're cool, but cool as in it is going to be really hot out here today. So that always has a little something to do with the number of people who come out and race when they look at the forecast and go, I don't think I want to do this.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. Even we did move those times up, and even still, probably could have gotten some more cars out here, but there'll be cooler days later on here. One can only hope as we see number 123 come across the line. That's Andy Chan again, leading up the back of the pack and keeping him moving. About 8 laps down now in the race. Nothing I think of too great an excitement to report here so far, but it is, despite being a hot day, shaping up to be a lovely day here in California's Central Valley. Some beautiful hills in the distance, farmers
Absolutely.
working their fields, everything you could want from a sort of pastoral Central Californian landscape, and of course cars going fast, the best part.
I don't understand it with the annual Cal Club Cornhole tournament after the races today. I would have thought that had brought out a whole lot more cars.
Yeah. No, punters love cornhole. It's true. That's some intense stuff right there. They've got trophies with actual corn on them.
Do they really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. They were very proud of them today in registration, and justifiably so. A proper tournament that will be held in the shade too. I have been told.
It is in the shade. Absolutely. So for those of you watching at home, I would like to let you know that, these are our test shows. So we only have one camera today, and we will have more as we get going and we get on our official broadcasts, which are next starting in January. But we're testing the stream this weekend to make sure we have enough internet to get the job done. And so far, so good. Our first race of the day we're in right now is our FA and P2 cars. Coming up right after this race at approximately 10:20 Pacific time is our Spec Miata group, and there's always a fairly good showing for that. I think we've got about 10, 12 cars there. And then our third race of the day is our E-Production group. We're going to see that group coming up here around 11:05. Not E-Production, but all of our closed wheel cars. You've got your E-Production cars, your production cars, your B-Spec cars, your touring cars, your IT cars. Spec Corvettes fall into that group, T1, T2, T3. So all of those closed wheel cars are all in that group. And then our last group of the day is Spec Racer Ford. They should go off around 11:40. Also with them is Formula Ford and Formula V. So we'll see who shows up for that race. That's our rundown for today. We're about 18 minutes into race number 1, and a short little break between race 2 and race 3 here. And we also have a track event out here this weekend. For those who don't know what a track event is, it's an opportunity for you to take your car out on the racetrack. There's no competition. There's no wheel-to-wheel racing, so it's a relatively safe way to do it. And as long as your car is in good working condition and has good seat belts and you have a helmet, you can pay the fee, pay the entry, and come on out here. And you get a couple of sessions each day. I think it's 3 total. And it's a really good chance to get out there and kind of put your little toe in the pool and see if getting on the track is something you want to do. Some people use it as a stepping stone to going racing wheel to wheel. Other people come out and just love track daying and never actually want to go racing. They just like to drive their car fast, and not get a ticket doing it.
Oh, true. And fun. That's the best part of it. It's exciting stuff. Speaking of exciting stuff, Tom Van Wee did actually just set himself a new best lap here in this race, 151.295. So, shaming some time off there.
Absolutely. For those who are interested in the track days, you can go to calclub.com and find out more about all of that. All the info you need there is there, and you can reach out to the track day folks and ask them questions if you want to. All right, less than 5 minutes to go, Tristan. It's a barn burner out there.
Oh, all the poor barns that have been sacrificed have been burned across the world for so many barn burners. But yes, it's a barn burner indeed. Probably purely because it's hot out there. It's really, really hot. But it does look like Robert Kazan's struggling a little bit here, and I don't really know what the issue is, but it's sort of just continuously dropping time. Maybe some upshift issues. Rough.
I'm just hearing that it sounds as though he's having some sort of transmission problems.
Unfortunate.
So that's what we're getting. The reports that we're hearing is they can hear him having a hard time getting it to go into gear. So that would explain. It's hard to drive a car fast when it won't go into gear.
Yeah. Looks like Andy Chan, too, had a little hiccup out there, kicked up some dust, span off, got back on, though, right back on the track, still racing, so not really slowed down all that much. Still a little hiccup, I should say, and something probably of note out there. It does sound like Robert Kazan's car, the number 12, will be given a once-over by the techs as well to take a look at that transmission, so that'll probably be them done for the day. Tom Van Wee coming by here, 11 laps complete, 21 minutes in, should be coming down towards the tail end. Well, it does look like Robert Kazan has picked up a little bit of speed there, the number 12 car. Putting in a better time overall, not quite close to his best lap so far in the race, but picking up a little bit of speed out there at 158, which is an improvement over his last lap, to be sure. So maybe he's managed to get those transmission issues under control to a certain extent. It looks like he will stay out on the track before coming in for the tech check. We are nearly at the end here. It sounds like the next time we see Tom Van Wee go passing by us will be the signal for the last lap of the race. Just waiting to see the flag come out for it as well to let us know.
And it looks like you said, we're just waiting for our white flag here.
Well, unfortunate circumstance there for Tom Van Wee. Hit a little bit of a snag, span out on the side, and recovered perfectly well, though. Came sailing by right there. The white flag is out, so we are on our last lap. Whatever hiccup it was, it certainly impacted his last lap time. A rather shocking 2 minutes, 28 seconds right there. So quite a bit slower than we had been expecting from him, but perhaps that is to be expected if you do go spinning off the track. At least he recovered and everybody's okay, and that's what matters.
There you go. And our white flag is out. That means the next time Tom Van Wee crosses the start-finish line, he will, if all goes well, be the race winner. At least all goes well for him. Robert Kazin is 4 seconds back now, so it is not a done deal if there is an issue. But I think that probably they just need to get those tires cleaned off a little bit, and because when you do go off, it's a dust bowl out here, so.
It is that. That is very true indeed. And I swear, Kazin, when he came by right there, I don't know, that sounded unpleasant. Something's weird is going on under the hood of that one. So hopefully they can take a look at that. 6 yellow. It did just pass through 11, so that's Tom Van Wee. He's coming around, probably down towards the bottom of the East Loop near off-ramp, and we should be seeing him come through Sunrise soon. If you're wondering what that camera is showing you, by the way, that's just the start of the straight here that comes past the tower, and then in the backside of the picture will be the Grapevine turn right there, a little bit of elevation change as well, something for you to look at. That'll be number 123 that you just saw passing across your screen. That's Andy Chan, and here comes, by the looks of it, Tom Van Wee. Nope, never mind. I spoke too soon. He spun off right there. We lost him in the pillar. I heard it, but I didn't see it. And then he's back on it. He's gone and through and finished.
We can even make a 4-car race exciting here, folks.
It was funny. That was one of those moments where he should be coming around the corner any second now, and just stared there for a good second and didn't see him come. So he must have had a bit of an unfortunate spin out. It looks like Tom Van Wee has successfully won this first race here. He is the only FA car in the group, so he has got his victory under the belt. Worth pointing out, too, that if you are concerned about overheating in any of these racers, you think of these errors are the result of dehydration or anything like that, we've got people on standby for all of them. When they finish, immediately get them water, cold towels, everything good. Keep them on the level. So that is definitely being looked at here.
Well, and the good news is we are in Southern California, and driving in the heat is not uncommon for these folks.
Indeed.
So, all right, since this race is over, let's give our final full field rundown here before we get this one out of the way, and we'll get ready for our second race. If you would give us one final full field rundown, Tristan.
Happily, starting at the top, Tom Van Wee in first place overall there. In second place, number 12, Robert Kazin. In third place, number 76, Rene Lohr. And then in fourth place, closing it out, number 123, Andy Chan.
And that is our full field rundown, brought to you by the Inside the SCCA podcast. on the Racing Wire Podcast Network. All right, that's going to do it for Race 1. We want to give, again, a big shout-out and a thank you to Porterfield Brakes. They are our presenting sponsor. Without their help, we would not be able to do this, and we appreciate all of that. That's going to do it for Race 1. We'll be back in just a second for Race 2. This is the Cal Club Race Stream presented by Porterfield Brakes. All right. It is time for our second race of the day. This is our Spec Miata group. Spec Miata, Showroom Stock Miata, Spec MX-5. And we're getting ready for that second race of the day. Let's go through our starting order. This is the Cal Club Race Stream presented by Porterfield Brakes. Tristan, take it over.
Well, starting in position number 10, number 24, Adam Kaslikowski. There in the 1992 Mazda Miata from Venice, California. In 9th, Timothy Gregorio from Los Angeles, California. Next rank up, Gabe Estrada Jr. from Vista, California. Next to him, Christopher Hamilton from Tempe, Arizona. Front of that, David Mitchell from Yucaipa, California. And then next to him, Austin Varco from Bonita, California. In 4th overall, David Varco, one of the Varco brothers there from Bonita, California. Clement Lee in 3rd from San Diego, California. In 2nd, Jeremy Rutter from Sherman Oaks, California. And then sitting in pole position here, Evan Jacobs from Encino, California. And they are all Mazda Miatas.
There you go. That is how we do it here. All of your Miatas in one race. You'll see the pace car coming into our view here in just a second. Little note that David Varco, Austin Varco is father's son, not brothers. Father has a long history of racing. His young son has jumped in as well, and his young son is actually competing right now for the Mazda Scholarship Program.
Really?
To step up to a pro racing program next year. So he's in the process of doing that. I believe he is a finalist and waiting for the nomination, possibly.
Awesome.
And he should hear that in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. So we look forward to hopefully him getting that opportunity.
Best of luck to him. And I mean, right up there behind Dad. Not a lot of time between them on those qualifying laps. So that'll be something to keep an eye on there. A little intra-family rivalry coming around, 4 and 5. We'll see what Austin's got in the tank for sure, as it looks like they're coming down and now into the East Loop and Hopefully we should see them in a minute as they come through the off-ramp up into Sunrise, and then we can get this race underway. A bigger field than last time, so I definitely expect to see some competition out there. Our oldest Miata on the track, 1992. Our youngest Miata, a 2003 in the hands of number 37, Jeremy Rudder.
All right, our pace car is on pit lane. Here they come through Sunrise, heading on to the front straight. Let's see if we can get this one started on the first try here. Looking to see whether or not our starter likes what she sees, and she does not. We're going to wave off another one, and not quite as well lined up as she would have liked it, so we're going to go around one more time. And like last time, the clock starts as soon as they cross the start-finish line. So we will take one lap off of not one lap off, but they'll have one more lap under yellow and save the tires, I guess, right?
Yeah, that was a rough grouping, to be fair. I think the second row there was one car, and then the third row there were three cars. Oh. It was all a little cattywampus there coming across the line, so you can see a sort of dejected head nod down there at the start line. So hopefully they'll sort that one out and come through again. It's rare, I think we have two of those in a row, but hey, it happens sometimes.
That's right. This will be probably either our biggest group or our second biggest group.
Biggest group today. 10 cars.
There you go. Yeah, the Spec Racer Ford group is usually also a fairly well subscribed group. And I was actually a little surprised that the third race of the day, with all of those cars in it, you'd think there might be a few more there, but it is some hot temperatures, and it's not even just racing. You have to tow back and forth during these hot temperatures, and that's no fun for the tow vehicles and all of that. So there's a lot that plays into it. Most of these racers here are not doing this for a living. They're spending their own money to come out here and have fun. So it's not there's no unlimited funds here to go and do that kind of stuff. So all of that a consideration as we get going here. Our pack now coming through the back straight area. When they have a wave off on the yellow flag like this, the pace car does not rejoin. So now our pole sitter will be in charge of pacing the field back to the hopeful green flag here. So they are now one single file going through the back straight. Once they get through the grapevine here, they'll start to pack up again. And it's very uncommon to get two wave-offs. So usually they all start playing like good boys and girls and get lined up nice and tidy, and then that green flag flies. So
yeah, hopefully we won't get another aborted start again. I hope they can settle in a little bit into that pattern.
Yep.
I mean, it is worth pointing out that given how hot it is, they don't want to be out on the track longer than they have to, right? So every additional lap is a sort of a punishment here, karmic justice for not being able to form in even 2x2s. But it does sound as if they have kind of slowed. They're kind of falling into formation, and hopefully when we see them coming up through Sunrise, they will be in good order and they can go ahead and kick this one off.
Well, and the other thing is, when you're going around at pace car speed, it's a lot hotter in a car because there's less air coming through. It's also hotter for the motors because there's less air going through. So we'll see if they can. Oh, definitely looking better at this moment. So now let's make sure nobody starts racing too soon. Oh, there we go. Green flag is out. We are underway here for our first green flag lap for race number 2, group number 3. This is our Spec Miata group, and there's some 3x3 racing going into the first corner. And we will, of course, look for that big puff of dust. Hopefully we won't see it. Everyone looks like they have gotten through fairly cleanly, and that is what we were hoping for.
Yeah, we lost him in the trees right there, as is tradition, going down into the S's and then through to the Star Mazda turn. And they were tight there coming across the line, especially in that front pack. I think there's about 4 of them sort of stacked up, real close racing up there in the group. So perhaps intimating that we will be seeing some rather thrilling stuff coming out of this group. And certainly they've got the competitive spirit. They were just saying a few seconds ago over the radio that coming into the green flag on the aborted would start, they were already kind of speeding up, getting ready to go. So not supposed to be doing that for what it's worth, but they were certainly in it to win it. What it seems to be today, and we'll just keep an eye here. We should be able to see them once they come over towards Phil Hill in the Riverside turn, and we can kind of pick that group back up and see where they're going. And sure enough, here they come, and it does look like Evan Jacobs has managed to retain that lead. A rather break-off group of 5 here, kind of at the start of the race, and then the rest of the pack strung out behind them.
And that's typically what happens with these races, especially with these momentum classes and these spec classes. They get into a single file line, they start working with the draft, and the key is to stay with the lead pack, because once you start to fall back and once you lose that draft, it is next to impossible to catch back up again. So we see this on a regular basis with this class, and Spec Racer Ford is the other one is very similar. Gotta stick with that lead pack, because the minute they start to pull away, it is lights out.
Well, it's already a little wild out here on these turns. You can see quite a bit of dust kicked up, and it is not from the tractor. Which is still hard at work, by the way. That tractor's still going. But no, it was not from the tractor. Cutting a couple of turns, I think, relatively tight here, the Spec Miatas. But here they come through across the line, and things have shifted. Jeremy Rudder has taken that first place position. David Varco slid into second place. Evan Jacobs, who started in pole position, has dropped all the way down to third. And then Clement Lee is chasing the heels right there. So that front pack, very tight, about 4 cars all sort of sandwiched within a few point seconds of each other right there, but Jeremy Rudder currently holding the lead.
Jeremy Rudder, David Varco, Evan Jacobs, Clement Lee. You know, those are the usual suspects. Those are the folks who, on these races, we're often seeing up front. They race together, regular basis. They know each other's moves, and it becomes really, really tactical in these situations where they kind of know where one driver is stronger than the other, and that's what we start to see play out. Even in the early laps, I mean, we're only, 5 minutes into this race even? 6 minutes in, that's how early they start looking at the tactics and getting things lined up for what they're going to do at the end.
Definitely, and Jeremy Rudder opening up the gap a little bit bigger here between him and David Varco. But, I mean, it is worth noting, sometimes we see those cars really burn early, get that big gap, and slowly lose it over time. It's a pattern that we have definitely established. A little bit of action at the back of the pack. It does look like maybe Clement Lee threatening Evan Jacobs there with a pass as they come down into I-5, but not able to achieve it before they head into the off-ramp. Maybe we'll see something coming around into Sunrise and through the straight here in front of the tower. They do quite like that Sunrise and Sunset turn for passing, but I think Sunrise is the usual preferred point if they can get it.
Absolutely, absolutely. 86 degrees out, so it's warm but not stifling yet. So it shouldn't be a big problem at the moment with our temperatures. Racing in the 86-degree weather is something we do all the time in Southern California. So just trying to keep these cars together.
It does look as though Evan Jacobs is able to hold on right there. We'll keep the distance between him and Clement Lee just a little bit under 0.3 of a second between the two of them. Meanwhile, Jeremy Rudder has opened up a 2-second lead by the looks of it, so a pretty significant gap between himself and David Varco. Austin Varco kind of sitting a little bit homeless right now in between these cars. He's sort of in 5th place, not quite caught up with Clement Lee, but definitely ahead of Gabe Estrada Jr. there on the number 74 car. So we'll see if Austin perhaps has something in the bag of tricks here to pull out and maybe try and close that distance and get up to that first pack.
Well, and the problem is with a 9-second gap between Austin Varco and Clement Lee, that is one of those gaps. It's just gosh darn hard to make up
Very
here
hard.
in these types of cars. So as we said earlier, you just desperately have to hang on to that lead pack And if you do fall back, you have to hope for a full course yellow or some other incident that would slow those cars up to get you. I would like to say, though, while there's a bit of a gap between first and second, third, and fourth, they are having some fun out there. They are pretty much nose to tail. And here's the issue. If they battle each other, if they choose not to work together, Jeremy Rudder is going up there going like, oh, it is time for me to start popping some champagne, folks, because that's what he wants to see. He wants to see those second, third, and fourth place cars playing and dicing and having a great time, because if they're doing that, they're not using the draft to try to catch first place, and that is a big, big deal if you're trying to catch the leader.
Very true. It's something we sometimes see, right? Sometimes you see drivers work together. That's something we see a lot in our Spec Racer Ford group. They'll often stack up behind one another. And sometimes we see it in the Miatas as well. But that's definitely not the mindset that looks like is being espoused here in 2, 3, and 4, because Clement Lee is definitely hunting for Evan Jacobs right now. Every time they come into kind of our camera view, actually, up in the grapevine. But he's not quite able to catch him yet. But you get the feeling that it might just be a matter of time.
Yeah, and these are all very closely. I mean, it's a spec class, but all the cars are individually built. So, and there are sometimes some differences between the cars in this class. But those 4 cars, those 5 cars up front, they're all very good cars with talented drivers. So it's likely not a car thing. It's not working together and doing the smart thing.
Worth pointing out that deeper in this pack, it does look like Gabe Estrada Jr. has slid back just a little bit from 6th to 7th. Christopher Hamilton, number 125, has moved up into 6th place overall. Austin Varco, number 121 there, just continuing to float in between 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3, 4 there up at the top. We're about 4 laps in, 11 minutes into the race right now, and doesn't look like any significant positional changes have yet occurred, though once again, the battle between 2, 3, and 4 coming through. We see number 3, I believe, Evan Jacobs there. He's now gunning for David Varco, and you'll be able to see that coming across your screen, I think, very shortly. That'll be the number 1 car there, Jeremy Rudder, coming up in, and there you go, through the grapevine. Distance opened up a little bit by David Varco as they come down into the I-5.
We're in our second race of the day, our Spec Miata group, and coming up next on our race schedule is all the rest of our closed wheel cars. So all of our production cars, our B-Spec cars, our GT cars, our Spec Corvettes, IT cars. That's a big group of classes. Still only about 10 cars, but that's coming up approximately 11:05. We're going to have a short little break to get our workers out of the heat and off their feet for a few minutes between this race and the next race. But that's what's coming up next year.
They come through again past us here in the tower. No positional changes in that top 4 group. Everything remaining relatively the same, but that group of 2, 3, and 4 just getting ever tighter in terms of about a 0.2 or less difference in between the 3 of them. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on here as we see Austin Varco come sailing by. A couple little spins out there, nothing too significant though. There's been, like I said, a little bit wild, some kicking up of dust, but nobody's had anything to really write home about just yet. You do see there Gabe Estrada Jr. has just come past us trying to chase Christopher Hamilton and try and get that 6th place slot back, but unfortunately a pretty solid gap between the 2 of them, so his work definitely cut out for him there towards the back of the group.
All right, we are past halfway. Why don't we go through and give a full field rundown, Tristan?
We sure can. So starting at the top, Jeremy Rudder, number 37, in first place. In second place, number 98, David Varco. Third place, Evan Jacobs, number 35. In fourth place, number 87, Clement Lee. Fifth place, number 121, Austin Varco. Sixth place, number 125, Christopher Hamilton. Seventh place, number 74, Gabe Estrada Jr. Eighth place, number 182, Timothy Gregorio. Ninth place, number 75, David Mitchell. And then 10th place, last but certainly not least, number 24, Adam Kaslikowski. They're rounding it out.
For you to say.
Oh, yeah, right?
As a Belansky, I feel your pain. I know how that goes. All right, there is your full field rundown brought to you by Inside the SCCA podcast on the Racing Wire Podcast Network, available on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. And of course, you're listening to the Cal Club Race Stream presented by Porterfield Brakes. Want to give them a big thank you. Without them, we would not be doing that. They've been producing amazing brake products since 1986. They have a reputation for manufacturing some of the best competition brake pads in the industry. That comes from working closely with some leading professional race teams, and they developed one of the finest pads ever produced, the composite brake pad using ceramic composite technology. They do a whole lot more than just brakes as well. You will want to check them out. It's Porterfield-Brakes.com. Without their help, this stream wouldn't be happening, so a big thank you to all of them.
Well, it's finally happened out there on the track. We saw him come by a minute ago, but Clement Lee, who has been on the hunt for Evan Jacobs pretty much since this race started, finally managed to get that third place spot right there. So Evan Jacobs, who was at one point in time threatening the second place racer of David Varco, now back in fourth, having to work through his opponent there if he wants to get some ground. We just saw Timothy Gregorio and David Mitchell come sailing by us right here, but looking out again, Jeremy Rudder running a very clean race, putting up good times, well ahead in the lead right here.
And a 4.3 second lead does not sound like a big lead in most race series, but when you look at the way these cars race, 4.3 seconds, it is not insurmountable. Those cars, Varco, Lee, and Jacobs, need to be friendly for a couple of laps, need to stop racing each other if they really want to get to the leader. Now, the other idea is that they may have said, oh gosh, he's checked out, we're not going to have any chance of catching the leader, so let's go have some fun. That could be the other thing going on. Of course, we are not in the cars, in the helmets. We don't have their radios in our headsets, so we're not exactly sure. Or there could be no strategy at all, and they could be out there just having a good time.
One or the other. A little column A, little column B, let's say.
There you go.
We'll see him come by right now. And yeah, Clement Lee does not look like he is in the strategizing mood. He looks like he's in the hunting mood because he's right up the backside of David Varco right there as they go by. And that obviously, as you said earlier, makes things wonderful for Jeremy Rudder. He can just continue doing his thing. Though I will point out, and this is something that we saw in our first race of the day, the longer the race goes on, the hotter the driver gets, the hotter the car gets, the hotter everything gets. We did see our racers getting sloppier towards the tail end of the race. So something to watch out for out there is if we see that pattern repeating itself, there might be some slip-ups here to keep an eye on. Definitely something they have to keep into consideration here today.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, there's always the chance to make a mistake. The gap, again, I think you just mentioned, has lessened just a bit. That could be a couple of things. Could be a mistake. Could be Jeremy Rudder saying, I don't need to push so hard, and I'm just going to take this thing. It's a little early to be kind of playing that game with 7 minutes left in the race, but hey, you know what? That can work as well.
Indeed. Just thinking back to Tom Van Wee in particular, I think, was getting kind of sloppy in the tail end of his race last time around, and that probably had something to do with just being hot and thirsty and dehydrated and what have you. But nothing slowing down Clement Lee right now, I'll tell you that for sure. You'll be seeing him on your screen if you're watching the stream on YouTube shortly, coming up into the grapevine. That little bit of elevation has sort of balked a couple of our racers, but you see actually Clement Lee going a little bit wide there and coming back in, definitely trying to get around David Varco in that number 98 car. Can't quite find an opening.
And the other thing is, you know, at this point in time, the second and third and fourth place team group could be doing that calculations where, you know, Clement Lee is right there, but taking the lead too soon is also not a good idea. You know, you want to time it either often if you can to be, you know, I always want to think about being the second place car going into the final lap, because then you're kind of right in the story. You know, and if you make that move too soon, you give the car who you just passed an opportunity to do it again back to you. So that could be what's going on as well.
I just heard now one of our turns turned 11 up there, so actually close to the grapevine where you saw that little bit of a swerve actually on your screen. Clement Lee and David Varco got real close. The exact wording was you could not have fit a piece of paper between the two of them. I don't think they quite hit each other, but they were very close to side coming up in there. So Clement Lee, there was a little bit of spacing as they came down here past us near the finish line, but they are still in this, very much a race between those two. Evan Jacobs, by the way, we haven't mentioned him in a couple of minutes, but he is hanging on right there at the tail end of that group. He has not given up the opportunity to possibly pull one over on Clement Lee and David Varco if he could.
Well, and he might be the guy just who knows exactly what he's going to do when he's going to do it. And yeah, we'll let those two guys do their thing. And if they make a mistake or they get into each other, he can take advantage.
Very true.
And if they don't, he's saved his brakes a little bit. He saved his tires a little bit. And he's got maybe the better steed for that last lap pass.
Very true indeed. Well, you'll see them actually coming through again. It looks like David Varco has managed to put a little bit of distance between himself and Clement Lee. But again, every time they come up into this grapevine turn, which again, you will see on your screen if you're watching the live feed on YouTube, every time they come up this bit of elevation, it looks like Clement Lee closes the distance just a little bit, but simply cannot find an opportunity. Some very solid defensive driving from David Varco to keep Clement Lee basically in that third place position, despite numerous attempts to sort of get around right there. But something to watch here as this race sort of moves towards its conclusion. We're about 20 minutes in here, 8 laps completed by these drivers so far.
And David Varco, by the way, has been doing this for quite some time. And I don't want to say old guys rule, because I don't think he's quite as old as I am. But he has got a lot of laps in his toolbox. And not that Clement Lee doesn't, but this is not a new situation for him to be in this type of a battle. And there's a lot of savvy racecraft under that helmet. So that is a very good thing for him to be able to do that.
Clement Lee again was trying a move right there, coming in on the inside of the sunset turn. We just caught a look of it before we lost it into the trees. He was trying to get around David Varco, did not manage to do it again. And meanwhile, kind of pacing themselves in the back there, Evan Jacobs the entire time, still a threat. But we are starting to run out of road. So if Clement Lee wants to get past David Varco, he's going to have to make a move soon. The next time Jeremy Rudder comes around, it will be our last lap of the race. So the pressure will be on that entire group if they want to make things happen for themselves.
Quick shout out to Paul Butler, just to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that. If you are enjoying what you're seeing and are looking forward to how we grow this channel, click subscribe and like. We love that. More subscribers gives us an opportunity to do a whole lot more of this. So if you like what you're seeing, hit subscribe and like. Look at these 3 cars heading in to the grapevine side by side. I don't know how this is going to work.
I don't know how this is going to work either. Here he comes again. Clement Lee. He's just trying to push past him there on the grapevine again. He nearly gets by him. That was close. I can't actually tell who emerged the better from that challenge. They're still side by side, actually, as they come down to the I-5. And look at that. Evan Jacobs slingshotting up the inside of the track right around those two as they battle, just like you said could happen. And we'll get a more definitive confirmation of what's occurred here when they come up through the off-ramp into Sunrise. But it did look like Evan Jacobs might have gotten the better of the clash there.
Absolutely. It's their second to last lap. As soon as they come by the line here, they're going to be with 1 to go. And this is exactly what Jeremy Rudder wanted, because all that battling, his lead here is going to be up to a total of almost 9 seconds. Evan Jacobs, 4th place to 3rd place.
Evan Jacobs trying to hold on to his spot right now, but Clement Lee again trying to slip around one of his competitors on the inside of the sunset turn. And unfortunately, David Varco, he has the knowledge, he has the tricks. He just ran out of room there, realistically, as they came up through the grapevine.
But did that happen 1 lap too soon?
That is a very good question, and something that I was wondering as well. They put a lot of effort into that battle right there. All 3 of them, I think, pumped a lot into it, and that doesn't necessarily guarantee that those are the positions that they're going to finish in either.
All right, we're going to see them come into our view here in just a second as they come through Riverside. Then it's the long back straight down to Grapevine, where all that action happened on the last lap. As you see, or as we are starting to see, Jeremy Rutter's opened up that lead. It was 8.8 seconds. So as long as he doesn't have any issues, he's going to be your race winner. But the big battle here is for second place. And now Evan Jacobs dropped back down to fourth again, but here we go one more time.
Back up into the Grapevine again, because that's where all the action is happening. You'll get it on screen again. It looks like David Varco now is the one who's challenging Clement Lee. Evan Jacobs made his move, but perhaps made it too early, and here they come whipping through, and I can't quite tell. They're both red cars, and I'm not sure, but it does look like tentatively David Varco managed to get the slip around Clement Lee, but we won't be able to confirm until they come across the finish line.
And that's about to happen any moment. The starter has the checkered flag ready to display it. That's going to come out in just a second, and Jeremy Rutter's going to be your race winner. But the race for second place is the one we're following right now. What's it going to be at the line? Your winner, Jeremy Rutter. Who is coming in second?
Oh, I didn't quite see it, but a big burst of speed being put on here, and it does look like...
And with a hand out with a hand in the air, Clement Lee takes your second place. Evan Jacobs will be third, and David Varco is fourth. Wow, what a finish.
Yeah, quite a finish. Clement Lee really put on the speed there at the tail end, by the way. We should say he opened up about a 2.5 second gap between himself and Evan Jacobs at the tail end, but a good race between those three. Some very entertaining stuff right there in the Spec Miata group.
Absolutely. Congratulations to Jeremy Rutter. We'll be back in just a second with your full field rundown here of our final race results. What a great finish. You know, it's one of those things where the Spec Miata cars are a group where we have come to expect a great race and a great finish. Maybe not for first place, but as we had today, the race for second place was really the fun one to watch. And always some action somewhere on the racetrack with these Miatas. And that may be why so many racers choose to race the Miatas. Because even if you're racing for 10th, there's someone to race with sometimes. So it's a lot of fun there. Let's go through and give our full field finishing rundown here at the end of our Spec Miata race.
Oh, starting at the top, in first place, your race winner, Jeremy Rutter, number 37. Second place, Clement Lee in the number 87 car. Third place, Evan Jacobs, number 35. Fourth place, number 98, David Varco. Fifth place, number 121, Austin Varco. Worth commenting, held fifth place the entire time that race, ran very clean. In sixth place, number 74, Gabe Estrada Jr. In seventh place, number 75, David Mitchell. In eighth, number 182, Timothy Gregorio. In ninth, number 24, Adam Kaslikowski. And then in 10th, number 125, Christopher Hamilton.
That is our full field rundown brought to you by the Inside the SCCA podcast that can be found on the Racing Wire Podcast Network, available on all of your favorite, or at least most of your favorite podcasting platforms. Oh, boy. All right, that's going to do it for our second race of the day. We're going to have a short break here to allow our workers to get a little bit of a break and catch some fluids and get out of the sun for a few minutes. When we come back, we really appreciate it. Oh, real quick, Christopher Hamilton's got some fans. He was in this race, I believe, or was it the race before?
No, he was in this race.
Oh, yes. In this race, Tom Autocrosser gave him a shout-out. Apparently, I love the comment, newbie is growing up. And Paul Butler also here rooting for Christopher Hamilton. So thank you both, and thank you, Tom Autocrosser, for subscribing to our channel. All right, we'll be back here in just a few minutes for our third race of the day, and we appreciate you. We'll be right back. You are listening to and watching the Cal Club Race Stream presented by Porterfield Brakes. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Cal Club's Race Stream, presented by Porterfield Brakes. I'm Brian Belansky. Tristan Parker is here with me, and we are doing today's races here from Buttonwillow Raceway Park, getting ready for our Group 4, which is our third race of the day. Group 4 is all of our closed wheel cars, all of our production cars, B-Spec, IT cars, GT cars, Spec Corvettes, all of our touring cars. They are in Group 4, our third race of the day. Getting ready to start. The pace lap has begun. So, Tristan, time to tell us who's going to be in this race.
Sure, let's run through. Starting from the back of the grid, in 7th, K. David Snow in a 1977 Volkswagen Rebel? Rabbit, my bad. Yeah, from Orange, California. In 6th, number 98, Gary Murph. That'll be a 1970 Opel GT from Bellflower, California. Alongside him, Joseph Hong, the 86 car, and a 1988 Porsche 944 from Chandler, Arizona. So an out-of-stater right there. In 4th place overall, another outer-stater. It's Dale Shoemaker in number 52 car, a 2007 Mazda MX-5 from Henderson, Nevada. And 3rd, number 62, Christopher Qualls from West Los Angeles, California. In 2nd, number 191, Richard James from Trabuco Canyon. And then in your pole position, number 23, Joshua Pitt, a Chevy Corvette from Fellows, California.
Richard James is our editor of Sports Car Magazine.
Oh.
And that's the magazine you get if you're a member of the club. And he was the past editor. And then the current editor, Philip Royal, who's also a Cal Club member. He has now moved on to work for SCCA National. Ooh. And Richard has stepped back in to take over the editor job until they find a new one. Richard's a great guy, fantastic journalist. So really cool to see him out here with us. And that's some good stuff there. And I giggled when you stumbled on the Volkswagen Rabbit. Folks, if you want a good story, pull Tristan aside during lunch someday and ask him to tell his rabbit story.
Rabbits and I, yeah, we have a history, surprisingly. You wouldn't think it, but we do indeed. But I love that there's a 1970 Opel GT and a 1977 Volkswagen Rabbit out there. That's good fun. You know, worth pointing out, and this is just the interesting little trivia tidbit for you all here, none of these cars are in the same class. They are all of a different class. Okay. They're all technically racing themselves right here today, as we should be seeing them come up through the grapevine just now in relatively good order, and hopefully we won't get another aborted start. They'll be able to kick things off here.
Well, that's up to them. As long as they play like good boys and girls, they will get a green flag here, and that's all up and on them. The lights are out on the pace car, so when the pace car driver comes to pit lane, then we will have our start potentially as the teams come down. And the key is side by side, not too fast, not too slow, no racing before they see the green flag. It's not hard to do, folks. It really isn't. But it seems hard.
It does. It seems like a challenge. Sometimes even the simplest task can be quite challenging.
That's true.
You see the head nod, though. The head is nodding for a moment down there in the start tower. So hopefully that's a good sign. The pace car is in here as well.
That's right. Pace car's on pit lane. Now the drivers come with their cars onto our main straight. They are, I am looking to see the cars and trying to look at the starter at the same time. I need eyes. Oh, green flag. Here we go. A couple of Corvettes in the front row moving towards our first corner of the day with two Mazdas in second, third, and fourth. They're going to have an easy trip for the front row because those Corvettes are faster than everyone else here. They'll be by themselves. So far, everything looks good through that first corner here. We know when things don't go well because there's usually a puff of dust. I don't see any dust at this moment, so that's a good sign.
It is a good sign indeed. That's at number 23 there, Chevy Corvette of Joshua Pitt, just taking off at the start line. You could hear that engine roar all the way up here in the booth. Always fun to see that at the start of the race, and it'll be entertaining to see how these guys all shake out right there. Some distinctive cars on the track for this particular one. 7 cars overall, so should offer us a decent amount of back and forth, hopefully, between these guys, especially that group of Mazdas that kind of makes up the top mid. They should be worth keeping an eye on here.
Definitely. Want to take this opportunity to thank our good friends at Porterfield Brakes. Porterfield is our presenting sponsor for the Cal Club Race Stream. They are out here helping us, and we appreciate all of that. They make race brakes for pretty much every car out there. Now that I've said that, so someone else said, I don't make race brakes for my car. They make race brakes for just about every car. You should check them out at porterfieldbrakes.com.
You see that Joshua Pitt leaving nothing out there. You probably just caught him if you're watching the YouTube. You probably just caught him tearing through the grapevine right there. And a little puff of dust there from the second place racer, who I believe is Richard James, the aforementioned editor. Just caught the tail end of the track, but nothing too bad. Still powering through.
Although, also, if you're watching the stream, leave a comment if you want us to shout out to your favorite driver. Leave a comment in the chat, and I'd be happy to mention it. Also, like and subscribe. We would love for you to do that as well. As Tristan said, Joshua Pitt took our early race lead, and he now has a 7-second lead over the second-place car. That's a GT3 car of Christopher Qualls. And then you've got Dale Schumacher, who's crossing the line third. I believe you are correct. You'll see Richard James here in the... Joseph Hong will be your fourth-place car. That's the yellow Spec 944. Perfect rule. He's following my rules. If you want us to talk about you, make your car really bright, because those are the ones that we see, and make your numbers really big too, because that helps a ton.
Yeah, especially when you're all the way out there at the Riverside turn and
That's right.
we're peering at you. Need a pair of opera glasses or something out here. But, it's worth pointing out that, unfortunately for the 191 car of Richard James, they did hit dirt. They spun out a little bit up there towards the grapevine, came back on. That did cost them time-wise, because in terms of qualifying, they actually started out overall in second. They are not there now, obviously. Christopher Qualls, by the way, is in a 2022 Mazda RX-7, so the newest car I think we've seen all day actually out on the track, so that's something to keep an eye on. But really, Joshua Pitt in that Corvette, leaving nothing behind, absolutely powering through, and you hear as he approaches, every time he comes up through that Sunrise turn, you'll begin to hear the drone of the engine as he whips by. It's quite impressive.
He's just trying to get done, because the faster the faster he makes these 25. Oh wait, it's just 25 minutes. I guess that doesn't work today, does it? If it was a 14 laps race, he could do it faster, but it's 25 minutes regardless. We've tipped and crossed the 90-degree mark so far.
Go.
So for those of you who are wondering why it's 11 o'clock in the morning and we're already racing, which is not necessarily typical, temperatures this afternoon are supposed to be well above 100 here at Buttonwillow. So we talked to the drivers and said, hey, can we compress the schedule and get you out earlier? And they all went, yes. So no arguments.
And wisely so. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, obviously, on the broadcast today about kind of overheating and whatnot, but it's worth pointing out, I mean, it's not like they're sitting in the car in a T-shirt and shorts either, right? You've got the helmet, you've got the suit, you've got anything else that you're wearing. It's just the gloves, everything all combined together. Put them inside the hot car, and then some of them are sitting for 10 minutes out there on the grid before the race even starts in the sun, and it's not like you're prioritizing air conditioning in your racing car either. So it's hot. It's hot and dusty work out there on the track today. So it's been impressive. All these drivers have been doing so well, but as the day does go on, that temperature does rise. Could be more and more of a factor here.
No question. It's a good example. Cal Club talked with the drivers and asked them what they wanted to do. And I'm not sure if it was a unanimous decision to start early, but I can't imagine there were too many people who were saying they wanted to race later this afternoon. So, and it's a trade-off though, because they do trade a little track time to make this happen. So we didn't have practice sessions this morning, and that's how we compressed that schedule to get everything out going early. So but when you talk with your drivers and you make a decision together, that's a fantastic way to do things. That's not something the club used to do a long time ago. They did whatever they wanted, didn't really talk to a lot of people often, and a lot of evolution has come in the last decade or so, all across the club, to help work with the drivers and provide them an experience that they want. So. All right, we are coming up on 6 minutes. Man, it feels like this race has been going on for a half hour. Yep.
Yeah, fair enough.
There
Yeah,
you
it
go.
does a bit, but it's only been 6 minutes. It's only been 2 laps, actually. I think that's the part that surprises me even more. But it's 3-mile course today. If you were wondering, the number, if you wanted to look it up online, you certainly could. It's the number 25 configuration in a counterclockwise fashion. Which, as I think I mentioned earlier, nobody really seemed too jazzed about the idea of going counterclockwise, but they're out there doing it. And despite the fact that they didn't have any practice, everything's been relatively clean today. I wouldn't think anything particularly bad has gone down, so that's good. And hopefully they continue racing quite clean out there, as we saw Joshua Pitt come tearing by, I think, just a second ago. And that Mazda RX-7 of Christopher Qualls, not far behind, but not really making a race of it. Everybody seems to be doing their own thing on the track right now. Speaking of doing their own thing, that 1977 Volkswagen Rabbit with K. David Snow is the last car in the field, but seems quite cheerful out there, just puttering around. Not puttering, I mean, making a good clip of it when you think about it. And he's a cool car to see out on the track for sure, alongside that Opel as well. Oh, speaking of K. David Snow, he just came by us right there on his latest track time, and Joshua Pitt still in the lead on the number 23. He's keeping himself ambling along. I hear speculation from one of the flag stands that he might have his cruise control on.
That's possible.
It is entirely possible. Doesn't seem to quite be feeling the heat as he was earlier on in the race, but certainly got the power in that Corvette to do whatever he likes out there on the track today, and he will come shroom sailing right by us here in the tower. 2:05 on that last lap.
So, if any of you are wondering what we do out here, I mean, obviously the racing's a ton of fun, and you can come out and join us going to calclub.com, become a member. But we do so, we're wild and crazy.
Bona fide piece of corn right
That's
there.
right. That's right.
Corn ear, I guess we should use
It's an ear of corn, yes.
ear of corn, yeah.
Clearly you're not from Wisconsin.
No, I'm definitely not. We grow oranges where I come from, so I'd know all about it if it was an orange, but no, it's an ear of corn right there. And it's a fun prize, fun event, and it will be held in the shade, which
Yes.
which makes it a lot more palatable
So-
to sling the old cornhole out there
And
in the shade.
I know all of you will be on the edge of your seats all night long wondering who the cornhole champion is. So the easiest way to find out the results of the cornhole tournament will be to tune in tomorrow and talk to us, because we will have the results on the stream tomorrow.
Fair. Yeah, we'll put it out there. We'll make the announcement. The colored smoke will puff out of the chimney over in the workers' village, and that's how you will know who won the cornhole tournament.
The problem is I may steal that piece of corn and eat it for dinner tonight. So
you might not be the only one.
I guess I'm going to have to win the tournament so that it's actually mine and I don't have to steal it. Okay.
I'm terrible at cornholes. You won't see me down there, unfortunately.
And I'm not better the longer into the adult beverages either. It does not improve my performance.
I'll be cowering in a hotel room somewhere trying to get out of this god-awful heat. But speaking of heat, there's some heat being demonstrated right here because Joshua Pitt is whipping around David Snow, lapping him there. It was only a matter of time, but came roaring by just now, and you might have heard that. I don't know if you picked that up on the mic, but a good bit of vroom vroom, some backfire, some flames there too, coming out of Christopher Qualls' car. So really putting on a display right there as he came past the tower, and the race continuing at pace. And like we said, everybody kind of doing their own own thing. There's not a lot of competition in this group because they are all of a different class. So technically, as long as they get halfway through the race, which we should be almost coming up on here soon, as long as they get halfway through, Brian, everybody's a winner. It's the best kind of race.
That's right.
Everybody walks away. It's not even a participation trophy. It's a winning trophy. They win. And that's just how the cookie crumbles in this group today. So that's that's how it works. It's good fun.
That's right. Oftentimes, in classes like that, the folks who we have to have a halfway finisher to be a finisher. And what will happen on occasion is when there's only one driver in a particular race, they do their halfway and then they park it for the rest of the race. So, all right, are we where I think we are? Oh, no, not quite. We're almost at halfway. Almost at halfway.
If you're interested in what inevitably probably will be a more competitive race, just knowing what we know of the group, our Spec Racer Ford group is coming up next, group number 5. Only 7 cars in it, including one of my favorite cars, the 1982 Glamdring of Mark Edwards, will be out there. But
yes.
that group 5 will be racing. 6 of them are all Spec Racers. They are a competitive bunch. I know that some of them have races coming up in the next few weeks that they're sort of saving themselves up for, but hopefully we'll be seeing some good back and forth out of that group. So that is definitely something to keep your eye on and stick around for. But back here in this group number 4, nothing much has changed. The lineup remaining relatively the same.
And we just crossed the halfway point here, so it's time for our halfway rundown here.
Well, let me give you the grid here as it stands. In first place, number 23, Joshua Pitt. In second place, number 62, Christopher Qualls, who just came howling across the line here by the tower. In third place, number 52, Dale Schumacher. In fourth place, number 191, Richard James. In fifth place, number 86, Joseph Hong. And then in sixth place, last but certainly not least in that Volkswagen Rabbit, number 23, K. David Snow.
That is your full field rundown, brought to you by the Inside the SCCA podcast on the Racing Wire Podcast Network, available on all of your most of the popular, and some of the not so popular podcasting platforms.
I don't even want to know what the unpopular podcast.
Well, it's not. It's platforms I'm not familiar with. So
true.
maybe
They're
are
out there.
popular. I'm
They're out there.
I'm
true.
familiar with the Spotify's and the Apple podcasts and the iHeartRadios. We're on all those, and a bunch of ones I'm not that familiar with. It's a great service.
You're actually taking that podcast on the road soon, aren't you? There's a big event
We
in
should
the
talk
future.
about that. Yeah, we're taking the podcast live to the SCCA National Championship runoffs. We're going to do 3 episodes each day on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of race days. And we are going to do those episodes. There's going to be a morning show, which we're calling Breakfast at the Runoffs. Kind of a takeoff of the old Breakfast at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
I'm stealing everything.
Of course. It's an homage.
During
It's an
an homage. It's not stealing, it's an homage. I like that. And then the lunch, we're going to do a halftime show because I couldn't come up with a better name than a halftime show. And then evening, it's going to be Runoffs After Dark, and we're not going to tell anybody what that's an homage to. But that will be our post-race show, and we'll have interviews. We'll talk about the upcoming races of the day, and we'll recap the races that happened. And my co-host, Greg Ginsberg, is going to be there. And it is all being sponsored by a bunch of folks, but our presenting sponsor is Goodyear Racing Tires and Vintage Racers for Rescues. They rescue pets.
There you go.
A bunch of race car fans, race teams, race drivers. They're pet lovers also, and they work together to help some of the local rescues in the Virginia, North Carolina area.
Awesome.
So they are our sponsors. They are helping us make the whole thing happen. You'll be able to listen to it and watch on the Racing Network. Also probably on the SCCA.com and the SCCA YouTube pages. We're working all of that out as well, and it's going to be a good time.
Sounds great. Sounds like it will be very interesting to hear, and I'm sure you guys have got some good content on the way. And you're one of a number of SSCA Cal Club members who will be heading out that way, actually.
Yes.
I think we got I was hearing them talking about it earlier up here in the tower. I think we got about 10 workers from Cal Club who will be making their way over to Virginia to take part in a number of different capacities. So that's pretty exciting. A few coming out of Arizona as well. So it should be pretty good, and it gives us all something to look forward to there to see the podcast in action over on the East Coast.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a good time.
Well, to drop us back in here on our race, it may not shock you, but no significant changes have occurred except for one, which is that Richard James is now sitting in fourth place overall, has recovered a little bit from the whoopsie earlier that we saw leading up there into the grapevine, and now currently trailing Dale Shoemaker in that number 52 car. Hopefully he's going to get the opportunity maybe to make a battle out of this, and we will be keeping our eye on number 191 and number 52 because there's not a lot actually between the two of them. That said, Joshua Pitt just continues to pound away at the track at a relatively leisurely pace, but still very much in the lead, as does Christopher Qualls, who seems to be demonstrating the power of his engine every opportunity that he can, which, hey, I'm all here for it. Speaking of the power of the engine, Joshua Pitt comes passing his by right there. 2:07, his best lap overall in the race, a 2:04. So not quite there, but doing a good job nonetheless. And, well, there comes whipping by Christopher Qualls as well, who's sitting at a 2:07.819 of his own. Eight laps down, 17 minutes in here as we watch this race come to its conclusion. The second to last race of the day, finishing a little bit early, as we did say earlier, because of that heat. So we will be getting out of here by, I think our last race will wrap up around noon, and that will be group number 5, which you should definitely stick around for a listen to because it will be interesting. But that's the best way, I think, to avoid temperatures getting any worse out here. It looks like even the redoubtable tractor that we saw over there working that field has been working it all day. He might have finally turned in, so that's probably a signal to the rest of us who are merely visiting, not currently living and or farming here, that it's about time for us to turn in as well. The number 52 car, by the way, of Dale Schumacher just passed us. Shoemaker, I should say. Got a little tempted to fall back into our classic racing name right there.
There you go.
Just passed us, doing about 2.
That's an homage.
An homage. Yeah, there we go. An homage indeed. Now, 191 car there, also coming in at a 214.5 and about a 0.5 gap between the two. And hopefully, if you are out here in Buttonwillow today, you are staying hydrated, staying in the shade, got some sunscreen on, wear a hat, all that good stuff, and we'll hopefully see you tomorrow as well with those same protections in place. There goes the number 23 of Joshua Pitt, one more time around. Still hasn't quite reached his best lap time, but that was 2:05.96. As an aside, I think Brian's already mentioned that these are some of our more experimental streams here. We're building up to a bigger and better platform in the future with more camera angles and what have you, but we'd love to hear any feedback you have on the broadcast. If this camera angle is any good, if you're getting if you're getting a good look at the track, if it's exciting, do go ahead and let us know. Go ahead and drop in the chat or leave a comment on the video later, and we appreciate all the feedback that we can get as we try and craft this into a more exciting and enjoyable production for everybody involved.
Well, and the other thing is that there are absolutely other sponsorship options available. More sponsors means more cameras, and our hope is to have a bunch of cameras out there, and we'll be able to follow the racing action more and more every week. And the official streaming starts in January. So like Tristan said, we are just kind of ramping up here and doing some testing and all of that. And we could just do the testing in the background, but we decided we'll share it with everybody anyway, because you might want to have sit back and listen to the race calls and find out more about your favorite driver and stuff like that. So we decided that we're not just going to keep these tests in the dark, that we would do it there. If you are interested in being a sponsor, just shoot me a quick email at raceannouncerbrian.com, raceannouncerbrian@gmail.com. And we would love to have you join us and give you some of the love like we give to our friends at Porterfield Brakes. Coming up here on 4 minutes to go, and Joshua Pitt, he's got this thing in hand. Unless there's an issue with the car or he makes a mistake, there's not much of a chance that the second place car is going to catch him. But that is all good, and we will watch that as this whole thing plays out.
Oh, the next time we see Joshua Pitt come by us here in the tower, it will be the last lap. Just got a confirmation there from race control. So nearly done here with this Group 4 race on the day. As Brian said, Joshua Pitt should take it by a country mile, barring some unforeseen circumstances. Rest of the lineup doesn't appear to be changing too much either. Unfortunately, Richard James, the number 191 car, just not quite able to catch up to Dale Schumacher, cannot return to his second place overall, which is unfortunate indeed. But sometimes you just go a little off the track and you can't quite pick it back up. That said, looks like everybody's been having a pretty good time out there, just running their race and enjoying a fun, exciting drive on a Saturday.
That's right. Our next race up is going to be our Spec Racer Ford Formula V group, and they will coming up around 11:40. Those times are approximate, so but not a big break between the two races. We're going to get that underway very quickly here.
Well, there's the white flag out now from the tower, and that means that we are on our last lap here. It'll take a while for everybody to get rounded out, but Joshua Pitt was the one who came roaring by, and he's put a mighty gap between himself and Christopher Qualls in that number 62 car. Actually, we'll see number 23 of K. David Snow in that Volkswagen Rabbit coming across here, and I'm kind of waiting on the number 62. Just how big of a gap here as Joshua Pitt opened up, and the answer is pretty substantial, because here comes Christopher Qualls screaming across the line in a 10-minute gap, or 10-minute, good Lord. No, it's not that big. 10-second gap, at least, between the two of them there.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where it's classic multi-class racing.
Yeah.
You know, we've got 6 different cars, 6 different classes. Usually there's a couple of cars in each class, but this is what we do. You know, we be able to get people more racing time. We combine the classes together, and if we had to have more races with fewer classes in each race, that would just take away track time from the drivers. So that's how we do it here, and it's a lot of fun, and also brings the different strategies. You know, you've got faster cars and slower cars, and some cars are fast in the straights, and some cars are faster in the corners, and it's all part of what you have to learn in the racecraft that you need to be able to be fast with these things.
Yeah, and that Chevy Corvette there of Joshua Pitt is no joke. That's a big bore engine. That's a powerful car.
It's a ground pounder.
Ground pounder, that's right. So not surprising at all to see him handily leading this race, all things considered.
All right, the starter has grabbed the checkered flag, which means Joshua Pitt is on his way down to the start-finish line. There is that number 23 car taking your win here in race number 4, Group 4. Our third race of the day. I know, it's kind of weird. We have a track group there in the middle, but it's our third race of the day, Group number 4. Joshua Pitt is your race winner. And we wait for second place.
Pretty much, yeah. And that'll be Christopher Qualls coming by sometime soonish. And sure enough, there's the flag waving. That will send that 2022 Mazda RX-7 sailing by number 62, Christopher Qualls, coming in second place right there.
I think it's pretty safe to give a full
Yeah, you
field
think
rundown.
so? I think
yeah,
so,
we usually
right?
wait till more cars get in, but I think it's pretty safe to do that now.
That's our brave Volkswagen Rabbit crosses the line right there. I love it. Anyway, let's give a full field rundown then of the Group 4 race here at the Double Regional Divisional Track event out here for SCCA Cal Club. Starting in first place, number 23, the formidable Joshua Pitt. In second place, number 62, Christopher Qualls. In third place, number 52, Dale Shoemaker. In fourth place, number 191, Richard James. In fifth place, number 86, Joseph Hong. And then last but certainly not least, in sixth overall, number 23, K. David Snow.
All right, that is going to be our full field rundown here, presented by the Inside the SCCA podcast. Want to give a big shout out to our presenting sponsor, Porterfield Brakes. This is the Cal Club live stream presented by Porterfield Brakes. We're going to take a short break here, just a minute or two before we get our next race of the day underway. He's Tristan Parker. I'm Brian Belansky, and stick around. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, welcome back to our final race of the day out here at Buttonwillow Raceway Park. This is the Cal Club Race Stream presented by Porterfield Brakes. I'm Brian Belansky. Tristan Parker is my partner in crime this weekend. We're out here getting ready for our final race. It is our Spec Racer Ford Formula Ford group. Let's go through and find out who is going to be with us this weekend on this race. Oh, hold on. Try it again.
There we go. There's always one. Starting at the back of the grid in position number 7, it is number 74, Mark Edwards, the only Formula V racer in this race in that wonderful 1982 Glam Drink from Los Angeles, California. In 6th place, sixth place, number 59, Thomas Kopitnik from Casper, Wyoming. So a far roamer there. In 5th, number 16, Michael Moshe from Los Angeles, California. In 4th, number 37, Don Paula from Bakersfield, California. In 3rd place overall, number 9, Brian Schubert from Huntington Beach, California. Starting in 2nd, number 61, Trevor Aker from Santa Clarita, California. And then starting in 1st place, number 111, Robert Edmondson with a 2023 SCCA ENT from Ranchos Palo Verdes, California.
All right, we're getting ready to send our All right, we are getting ready to send our cars out on the pace lap. This might be delayed just for a second because we've got a little situation going on here as we get ready to go. So we might hold for just a minute while we have a little bit of a... At the end of the race, a car going through tech might have had a little bit of a flare-up. So we're just going to, and of course the emergency crews have to go and handle that, and we need those crews to go racing. So we may just hold here for a second. Give us an opportunity to tell everybody about our track events out here at Buttonwillow. If you want to come out and drive your car on a racetrack and do so without worrying about getting a ticket, that is the way you do it. You go to calclub.com and look at our track event schedule, and you sign up. Pretty much any car that's any sedan or coupe type car, not really looking at SUVs or minivans or pickup trucks, but any kind of car that you would think might want to take on the racetrack, you can do it. You need a helmet. You need a car in good working order. There's a little information that you'll have to learn to go out there, which is really simple. We can do it on a race weekend. And then come on out and bring your car out there, and it's a lot of fun. We have a couple of sessions this weekend each day. And we do this on most race weekends out here that we're out. So check it out, calclub.com.
Yeah, definitely something worth looking into. A good time, and you don't have to jump a fence or run a barricade or anything like that. It's
well, and the other thing you can do is you can come out here and become a volunteer worker as well. That's the best seat in the house. We have the folks on the corners who wave the flags and all that kind of stuff. We've got technical inspectors, our starters, our stewards, the folks in registration, the folks on grid. Lots of people out there helping us out, and all get you into the races, and we have a good time, and it's fun, and it's a great family, a camaraderie out here. So you're new to the club. You've experiencing a little bit of that as well. So
great group.
All
well
right.
worth the time.
Absolutely.
And have fun weekend.
Absolutely.
Genuinely.
Absolutely. All right, we have started our pace laps. Actually, we're well into the pace lap here. Lights are out on the pace car as they go through the grapevine. We should be seeing them on the screen here. Yep, you can see them there as they go through the grapevine. And that means that we will be getting ready to do a start here in just about 30 seconds, it thinks.
Yeah, hopefully everything clear. We did have 2 aborted starts today, so it was a little bit rough.
Yep.
But last one was clean as whistle, and this one I think is shaping up to be fine as well. These Spec Racer Ford guys, they know what's what. They all know each other too. I mean, they're share a garage. A lot of them, they're all well known to one another, and they know each other's tricks. And there's some good battles to be had there. And like I said, I think they've got some races coming up in the future, maybe out in Laguna Beach. So just how competitive they're going to be today, I don't necessarily know, but usually this is a group in which we will see some good, solid racing because they all kind of want to get one up over the other.
And they're all fairly friendly. You know, they go 100%. And they'll travel to Laguna Seca later on in the year here, and they're all really friends, and they love hanging out with each other until right about wait for it, now. They are not friends anymore. The green flag is out. All these guys who are friends 15 seconds ago are no longer friends. They are now racing against each other as they head down to turn 1 for the first time. And then in about 25 minutes, they'll be friends again, hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah. Usually they're all back in the garage drinking sodas and eating cookies.
That's
and
right.
Stuff.
That's right.
But Trevor Acker, one to keep an eye on right there. One of very talented racer. Brian Schubert as well, young gunner out there on the track. Robert Edmondson is a rare entry here. I don't think I've really seen much from them before, so that'll be something to keep an eye on for sure. And of course, Mark Edwards, he's technically already won his race as long as he manages to complete half the track. It is a joy to watch that little 1982 Formula V car power around the track out here. So he's another one to keep an eye on. But we'll see what they have on offer today. We have unfortunately lost them in the trees here coming right off the start, but they were quite tight up in the front row. I think it was Trevor Acker and Robert Edmondson were basically wheel to wheel right there coming out of the start. And now we can actually see leading up into the Riverside turn. It does look like it will be that 111 car of Robert Edmondson who's pushed out just a little bit. That said, though, it does look like Trevor Acker not quite willing to just give it away, is kind of nipping at the heels. And this is usually what we see out of Trevor. He'll really push hard to get past. Brian Schubert, too, actually coming down out of the grapevine right there, not giving much of a room. I did talk to Brian earlier today, and he's got another race sort of in mind coming up, I think, next weekend. So his objective, I think, was to just do a clean race as much as possible, avoid any hiccups in preparation for that. But he's got a competitive spirit, so he'll want to win here just as much as the others will.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things where you might have this or that, but once you strap on the helmet and once that green flag falls, sometimes that, I've got a plan to be a little not quite so aggressive, goes completely out the door. Except they don't have doors.
They do not. Trevor Acker there, by the way, in the lead, pouring around. 2:03 is the lap time. Close behind him was Robert Edmondson, 2:03.446. Brian Schubert there leading up in third place. Michael Moshe and Don Paula are both chasing up after that. And then leading the back end of it, Thomas Kapitnik and Mark Edwards there, sort of our tail end Charlies of this group. So really the group of three to watch right now, Trevor Acker, Robert Edmondson, and Brian Schubert there. And we'll be watching for them as they come through Riverside the next time around as well. Definitely it looks like Robert Edmondson and Trevor Acker have come to play today, that's for sure.
No question. And this is another one of those groups where the regular suspects are always pretty much out there, and they race with each other, 4, 5, 6 times a year, and they know how they do things. They know how these cars work, and it's a lot of fun to watch them do their thing. So it's good stuff.
There's a little bit of a change, actually. Brian Schubert has managed to slip around. Robert Edmondson moved into second place overall. So that's a good start right there for the young driver. And he's chasing up the heels of Trevor Acker right now. But as you can actually see on your screen coming up through the grapevine, Trevor Acker maintaining a pretty good clip, though. Certainly can't count Robert Edmondson out just yet. He is tailing Brian Schubert right there. Michael Moshe has a little bit of a problem as well because he's got Don Paula in the review mirror creeping up on him coming down out of the grapevine. Hopefully this, if you're watching on our YouTube, hopefully you're getting a good view on this camera because that grapevine elevation, especially the down turn there, seems to be a moment where a lot of cars start to catch up with one another. And unfortunately, we can't follow them all the way around, but it is definitely a spot worth watching here as we will see Trevor Acker come across the start line here. Brian Schubert right there and Edmondson holding in behind.
race.
I think that's why this class often tends to offer some of our best racing as well, because it really is driver to driver. A lot of thinking goes into this. You'll often see in a bigger field, the field today, not particularly large, but in a bigger field, and we sometimes do get quite big fields of these spec racers, you'll see a lot of kind of tailing and drifting and riding off of one another and teamwork. It all goes on out there. You see Trevor Acker now actually coming through here. Brian Schubert is closing the gap slowly but surely. Trevor Acker putting up 2 minutes and 2 minutes .712 right there, kind of coming through on that lap. Brian Schubert actually setting the fastest lap overall. Might have been some confusion here in the time, but 1:59.909. So very close on the heels of Trevor Acker right there. And Robert Edmondson holding form as well. Meanwhile, Michael Moshe continuing to hold off Don Paula there in 4th place, but Don definitely has eyes for that spot. The gap between the two of them not particularly significant. Both of them running at 2:04 and about 0.3, maybe 0.2 of a second in between them, 0.2 and some change. So another one to keep an eye on here in this group.
This is another one of those classes like we were talking about with the Spec Miatas, where keeping that draft is so important. Yeah. And if you start to pull away, great news. Unless you're in 2nd or 3rd place, then it's not such good news.
Yeah, and you can actually see that in action. Well, you can't see it, but I'll tell you about it. As Brian Schubert has made a big gap now, kind of clinging on to the back of Trevor Acker. And Robert Edmondson, who's kind of without that draft, is quite far back. You actually probably just saw them come across the camera if you're watching. You can see coming out of the grapevine there that Robert Edmondson, despite sitting in pole position here, is now quite stuck in 3rd. Now, I will say that among the groups, usually this one can see some pretty big changes. They are not free of errors down here in these spec racers, and occasionally someone will mess up somewhere, and that tends to open the floodgates just a little bit. So Robert Edmondson probably looking to keep his race as clean as possible right now and exploit any opportunities that the younger racers, Trevor Acker and Brian Schubert, might deliver. And speaking of Brian Schubert, he manages to get the pass there coming out of Sunrise. He'll slip right around the front of Trevor Acker. So much for just surviving the race. He looks like he's out to win one for himself today.
Yeah, I thought he was just trying to be nice and easy.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah,
he was up here in the booth.
That's what they all say. It's all fine till the green flag falls, and then the red mist comes.
What colors? Trevor Acker and Brian Schubert are usually competing against one another, so I don't think it's particularly surprising. And I'll be curious to see how they kind of play this one out, because it's honestly going to be a little bit more of a strategic game between the two of them. Usually Trevor Acker, he'll make a good surge towards the tail end of these races, but the presence of Robert Edmondson there just kind of looming large in the rearview mirror is something that they will have to take into consideration. But now very much Trevor Acker, who slipped into that sort of drift position. There's a Dust Devil in the background there as they come powering by, and you'll see them coming onto your screen shortly heading up into the grapevine. And that might give you a bit of an idea of just how close the two of them are together out in that lead. But the more critical thing to note is that Edmondson is making up time every loop as they come up and down that grapevine. He closes that gap just a little bit more. So he's going to be, I think, pretty consistent in his desire to kind of keep that going. Michael Moshe, meanwhile, I think has managed to maintain his lead over Don Paula. So that's another thing to watch there. Their cars are very similar. You just saw them coming through, but we're back down to focus on the start line now. Brian Schubert maintaining his hold on that 1st place position. Trevor Acker still chasing right there, and let's see if we can get a time difference between them. 0.365 of a second is what separates Brian Schubert and Trevor Acker from one another.
We got about 15 minutes left in our final race of the day. We're going to do it all again tomorrow. If you're enjoying the live stream, subscribe to the Racing Network on YouTube so you can get alerted and hit that little alert bell. So whenever we go live, you can find out about it. You can also find tomorrow's live stream link on the Cal Club Facebook page, and we'll have that for you tomorrow. Same basic timing tomorrow as today, and we'll do it all again, and we'll bring these to you again tomorrow. So, again, you can subscribe to the Racing Network on YouTube. That's where we put all the races. And, of course, we give you the stream links on the Cal Club Facebook page. Of course, this is the Cal Club race stream presented by Porterfield Brakes.
If you like racing and you like this kind of amateur sport, don't forget to, tell your friends, tell people you know if they're interested in watching how it's done down here. Speaking of how it's done, Trevor Acker right up the backside there of Brian Schubert, hugging the back wheels of that Spec Racer Ford as they come into the grapevine yet again. And once more, I encourage you, if you're watching the YouTube stream, you'll get an idea of how close that group of three is. A little whiff of dust right there coming off of the rear wheel of Robert Edmondson, so he might have just clipped the outside edge of the track. Hopefully that's not going to affect him too much overall as they come round. Not a lot of other big positional changes or things of note here. The only one of mild interest is that Mark Edwards in that 1982 Glamdring has actually pushed himself into 6th place overall. Thomas Kopitnik currently sitting in 7th and last overall. Another puff of dust here from the lead group, and the spacing a little bit more even there as they come past the start line.
That's right. If you're watching the stream because there's a particular driver you're a fan of, put a note in the chat about that, and we'd be happy to give that driver a little bit of love. Yeah, do that as well. So that could be some fun. Again, this is our last race of the day. We just crossed the halfway point, so this would be a perfect time for a full field rundown.
And let's hop right into said full field rundown. Starting in first place, number 9, Brian Schubert. In second place, number 61, Trevor Acker. In third place, number 111, Robert Edmondson. In fourth place, number 16, Michael Moshe. In fifth place, number 37, Don Paula. In sixth place, number 74, Mark Edwards. And in seventh place, number 59, Thomas Kopitnik.
There is your full field rundown, presented by the Inside the SCCA podcast. You can find that on all of your favorite podcasting networks or podcasting platforms. Just look for the Racing Wire Podcasting Network. All right, just got a few minutes left in our racing action here. The reason we have only a few minutes left in our racing action is because it is 11:52 out here on the West Coast. It is 91 degrees already here at Buttonwillow. The high today is supposed to be 105, and tomorrow's high is supposed to be 107. So that is why we're going to get started bright and early. I will be here with about 3 pots of coffee. 1 in me already and 2 on board ready to go once I sit down. And we will get through tomorrow morning and do it one more time for you. And we really appreciate you tuning in and watching it. If you are tuning in and watching, please like it and subscribe. That helps us a ton. Continue to bring these and a whole lot of other races as well.
The gap between Brian Schubert and Trevor Acker there in the lead remains about the same, 0.03 or 0.385. Numbers are hard between the two of them. There's a reason I am doing race announcing and not like theoretical physics.
That's right.
The reason is math, mostly. So they are remaining kind of relatively tight towards one another. So that'll be something I think to mark here towards the back half of this. And Trevor Acker, Acker is a patient racer. We have seen him be patient in the past. He knows when to put moves on. And actually, the same can probably be said of Brian Schubert. They're both quite they're thinkers out there on the track, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're matching that.
thinking can be good and bad.
That is very true.
You know, sometimes you can outthink yourself.
Very
and,
true.
And that's what happens a lot with new and up-and-coming drivers. Look at that gap close up going through
Every
that
time.
back stretch, and then Brian's able to pull away again each lap. It's been a very similar scenario lap after lap after lap. So here is the question I present to you, Mr. Parker. Is Mr. Acker waiting patiently for that final lap to be able to get the job done? I have seen him do that before.
Yes.
And you know what? You know who else knows that? Brian Schubert.
Brian Schubert knows that. Yeah, you're 100% correct. And I was just gonna say, if you hadn't said it, he's got to be thinking about it right now, every time. And the part of the challenge too is they come up to that grapevine turn, and yeah, Brian has maintained his lead every time they've come through, and even possibly gained a little bit of distance. But that's a challenging bit of course up there. That's an elevation, that's a turn, that's another turn coming down off the elevation. A lot of speed has to be dealt with in there, and I think that's a challenge. But yeah, 100% Trevor Acker is waiting probably until the last lap to make a move.
And we do this track both counterclockwise and clockwise.
Yeah.
Today we're doing it counterclockwise, and that corner in particular is really hard going in this direction because you are going into that corner with a tremendous amount of speed in this direction, and when you go at the top of that little hill, you lose the weight off the front of the car, and it makes it really hard to get the grip to turn in. When you're coming in the other direction, it's a much slower entry to that turn. That is the entry into the longest straight. So the car is positioned a complete different way. The vehicle dynamics are different, and it's a much easier corner to do going in the other direction. That might be why they don't like it this way.
It probably is.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, too, that's not a straightaway either coming into that, right? You've got a dogleg in there on the backside of the track, and it's a subtle dog leg, but it exists. I mean, it's something that you have to deal with. And speaking of that dog leg, you'll see, well, the two of them coming through right now. Trevor Acker, again, he's just up the side there of Brian. I think he tried to make the pass on Brian Schubert, actually. Couldn't quite find it. Now they go back up into the grapevine again, and here goes Trevor Acker putting on the speed, trying to slip in on the inside of the turn. He won't find that opportunity there. He tries again one more time as they come down into the I-5. Oh, that was close. I don't think they were close to touching one another, but certainly Trevor Acker saw a window and went hard for it there coming down out of the grapevine.
Or he's just making him look really big in the mirrors.
That's also very possible. Playing games.
Hello, I'm right here. Don't forget about me. Yep.
Let him know. He's got to let him know.
That's right. That's right. All right, well, coming up on the about 7 minutes to go. Our final race of the day. This is the Cal Club live stream presented by Porterfield Brakes. Nice battle up front with Brian Schubert in first, Trevor Acker in second, and then Robert Edmondson is just hoping they mess up and he can go in and take the lead.
Very much what he's hoping
He's just
for.
like, just let those two guys, no like big damage, no like nobody hurt, but if they both went off the track, he would be like, yes.
It's like when Godzilla and Mothra throw down, just let them fight. We'll jump in at the tail end. Worth pointing out, Trevor Acker has actually halved the gap between him and Brian Schubert. Last time they came across the line, 0.189 was the gap between the two of them. So tight right there. Six minutes left in the race, or thereabouts. Whoa!
Oh,
something's happened.
I heard a whoa. Yeah, I think Trevor Acker is possibly not with us at the moment. Did he try to make a move and slide off? Could have broken. We'll find out in just a minute.
Didn't hear any.
And that pause means he's hearing chatter. So and I see a tow truck pulling onto the pit straight. That's not necessarily a good sign for at least one. Well, it's definitely not a good sign for at least one driver out there.
It does sound like, and again, it's piecing it together because I missed the initial call of it, but it does sound like Trevor Acker went off the course. Not anything bad as far as we can hear, so there's no reason for worry, but did go off, not able to get back on it. It looks like the tow truck is being deployed specifically to go and pick him up. And it looks like number 9 there, Brian Schubert, comes powering through.
All right, so that's exactly what has happened. Schubert's still in first. Now Trevor Acker has fallen back, and they're going to get him and either push his car into a safer position till the end of the race or bring him in right away, depending on the situation. Robert Edmondson moves into second as the cars start to circulate around. My guess is that Michael Moshe will move into the third place spot, and everyone will bump up one place here. The good news is he doesn't seem to be in a bad position, else they would have called a full course yellow at this point in time.
Yeah, so I'm just getting the confirmation right now of what happened, and it wasn't even a driver error. It looks like what happened was Trevor Acker, his something mechanical went wrong with the car. He started to slow down. He actually went and he waved Robert Edmondson past. So nothing bad happening, just the car not working, which is unfortunate. I mean, very unfortunate for Trevor Acker, who's running a very solid, very interesting race there against Brian Schubert, but it does look like his day is over. And unless Robert Edmondson can really pull something together, it should be Brian Schubert's race to win or to lose, I guess, but his race to win right now as it stands. 10 laps completed, 21 minutes in, should be coming up on our last lap very soon.
Well, it's really uncommon with these cars to have a mechanical failure. So I'll be interested to find out what may have caused that. These cars are as close to bulletproof as any race car you're going to find out there. So we'll figure out what that is, and hopefully we can report back to you tomorrow when we get back on the live stream. Speaking of tomorrow, we're going to do this again tomorrow, same time in the morning. We're going to get underway first thing tomorrow morning at 9:45. That's our scheduled start time. Again, those times are approximate, and it's Pacific time also. We'll be doing the same 4 race groups as we did today, and we'll have the live stream link up on the Cal Club Facebook page. So we'll put that up this evening so you can check it out.
Yeah, it does appear that Trevor Acker is officially out of the race. It sounds like he's a victim, unfortunately, of the heat wave today. His engine overheated.
Oh.
And forced him to slow down, and he will try and bring it in, I think, under his own power, but at the end of the race. So that will be Trevor Acker done for today.
That's never a good sign.
No, not good if the engine overheats.
That's right.
It's, maybe you've been pushing it a little too hard trying to keep up with Brian there in that first place.
Well, and he may have seen it overheating and decided to, not spend a lot of money replacing the head in the head gasket.
Yeah.
And maybe he just was like, I'm just going to park it today and come back and do it again tomorrow. So, not always what your brain tells you to do, but sometimes your pocketbook is nudging you in the backside saying, maybe we should stop right now.
Looks like number 74 there. That's Mark Edwards in that lovely 1982 glamdring bright yellow. He's come off. His race is done for the day. He's behind the wall pulling into pit lane. Doesn't look like he'll be doing any more racing, nor does he particularly need to. Now,
that's right.
Going back to the top of the lead here, though, Brian Schubert, Robert Edmondson, 1 and 2 respectively. And, well, Robert Edmondson's made up some time here, putting on the gas to try and catch up to Brian Schubert. So if there was a moment of relief there for Mr. Schubert after he saw Trevor Acker slow down and drop off, any illusions have been shattered because Robert Edmondson still in the hunt here on the tail end of this race.
And the starter has the white flag in her hand. She will be displaying it to Brian or Robert, whoever comes around next first, and to indicate our final lap of our final race of the day. That flag is out. We'll see who's going to take it and how close the gap is at the line. Brian Schubert is going to take it, but it is a lot closer than it was last time. It's going to be 0.3 of a second between first and second in this final lap, and we will see if Mr. Edmondson can pounce here. Now he is in the catbird seat.
He very much is, actually. This is a surprising development. Edmondson has been kind of playing back this entire time. Now has really powered forward. The gap created by the drop of Trevor Acker has just evaporated in the space of a lap or two.
Well, and it could be a situation where Brian had to race Trevor Acker hard.
True.
It could be with 92-degree temperatures that the tires are just going away, and he just doesn't have the grip that he had 5 or 6 laps ago. That could be very much the case here. And with Robert Edmondson not having to race anybody for those laps, he was able to just tool around. He's taking advantage of that situation right now. We'll also find out about that and report that back tomorrow.
Of course, they're too probably concerned that car is overheating as well, right? I mean, if it happened to Trevor Acker, it could potentially happen to Brian Schubert. They will come down through the dog leg, and you'll see Robert Edmondson just pushing up behind. I mean, he's trying to close that gap. He might even try and make a pass here as they come up towards the grapevine. Indeed, it looks like that's what's foreshowing. But no, Brian Schubert pushing
Brian
off.
got pushed wide. Definitely loose there, but he was able to hold on.
Good bit of driving there from Brian Schubert to keep that in check. That was a not dangerous in the dangerous sense.
Right.
But in the race sense, a dangerous moment there for the race leader.
Well, one of two things happened. He may have tried to go in a little bit deeper, knowing that he had someone on the last lap trying to go, or it's possible that those rear tires are going away and he just slipped wide. Here they come for the final turn for the final time. Edmondson's right behind him, trying to make this final move in the final corner. I don't think he's going to get him at this point in time. Looks like it's going to be Schubert first and Edmondson second. What a good finish.
A good finish indeed. An exciting race here from the Spec Racer Fords, and it will be Brian Schubert who walks it across the line. Robert Edmondson not far behind, but just far enough.
All right, we're going to breathe for a second, let some more cars cross the start-finish line, and then we will come back in just a few seconds and give you a full field race rundown. All right, we're back at the end of our final race of the day, Spec Racer Ford and Formula V. It is time for our full field race rundown with Tristan Parker.
Yeah, starting at the top, your race winner, Brian Schubert in the number 9 car. In second place, Robert Edmondson, number 111. In third place, number 16, Michael Moshe. In fourth place, number 37, Don Paula. In fifth, number 59, Thomas Kapitnik. And then Mark Edwards and Trevor Acker both withdrew early, 6 and 7 respectively.
And that is your full field race rundown, brought to you by the Racing Wire Podcast Network and the Inside the SCCA podcast. I want to take an opportunity to thank our presenting sponsor, Porterfield Brakes. Porterfield Brakes is helping us out with these streams this year. We could not do this without them, and we really appreciate everything they've done, creating amazing race brakes and competition brakes since 1986. If you want to find out more information about Porterfield Brakes, go to porterfield-brakes.com. And again, we appreciate what they do. I actually had a little screen here to put up, and I forgot to do it, so let's put it up right now. We've got our first race of the day at 9:45 in the morning. That's our Wings and Things. Second race approximately 10:20. That's our Spec Miata group. All of our other sedans and big bore cars at 11:05 Pacific. And then our final race of the day tomorrow, again, should be around 11:40, and that is the group that just finished here. That's going to do it for today. For Tristan Parker, I'm Brian Polanski. You are listening to the Cal Club Race Stream presented by Porterfield Brakes on the Racing Network. Have a fine day. Stay cool if you're on the West Coast, and we'll talk to you later.